Hey family, today's 10-minute workshop is titled Decolonizing Our Faith and Breaking Free from the Chains of White Christianity. Now, before any of you all, black or white listening, get offended, this is not a teaching against God. It is a teaching so our eyes will be open. Many of y'all's eyes have been enlightened. That much of what we were taught and indoctrinated was based on control, fear, and weaponization, all to control, particularly during slavery, which passed on down to today. So many of what is being taught in the black church particularly was given to us secondhand by manipulation, control, and built on racism and fear. This is a new season, baby. God 2025 is a season where everything is being revealed and truth must be taught. So folks, y'all stick with me and let's get on into this. Like I told you, this is not an attack on God, Jesus, or spiritual truth. It's a liberation movement, y'all. A reclaiming of a spiritual path that honors our ancestors, our African roots, and our divine right to connect with God in ways that are free from white supremacy. So let's talk about the historical roots of white Christianity, okay, in the black experience. First, Christianity before enslavement. See, a lot of white folk felt that, well, we're going to go over to Africa, and one way we're going to make these uncivilized darkies Christian, right? Their idea of Christianity. So, which is really bizarre because Christianity is built in love. It's supposed to be built on the teachings of Christ, which is love. But the very opposite of love is what they did during the slave trade. What they did on these plantations is very opposite of love. What they have done, not just in America. Let's talk about apartheid in South Africa. Let's talk about the Trail of Tears and the genocide of natives in America. Let's talk about the Jews with the Holocaust. You see, white people have always, and again, white folk, if it does not fit, don't get offended. But you have to know that this is part of your history. And the problem is many of you all do not want to know your history. And that's why it keeps repeating. And until we expose this cancer, it cannot, no matter how much chemo we give it, the cancer of racism is going to spread. May not from you, but your generations to come. So, many African civilizations believed in a supreme being and spiritual systems. Ancient Ethiopia, Nubia, and Kemet, now Egypt, had Christian communities centuries before Europeans came. But see, it's just like, it's the ethnocentricity. It is the audacity, the caucasity. It is let me calm down. It is the audacity of white people that they always think, not all, but when I'm not speaking in generalizations. I know no one's a monolith, but you just stick with me. They have that takeover spirit. And it's built in ego and pride and their own fear. Because if they did not fear us, if they didn't fear our ancestors, if they didn't fear that knowledge would empower the slaves, they would have allowed them to have it. So the most fearful people are the ones that try to dominate and control. Christianity is not inherently white, but the version we received was, you all. Christianity is supposed to make you feel free. What part of Christianity has ever made you feel free? Come on. Answer. I'll wait. I can't tell you how it has made me. It never made me feel free, especially growing up. It was always guilt, condemnation. You're not obedient enough. And that was passed down from the plantation. I don't care what you all say. And you can say, hey, lady, you always talking about slavery. I'm going to keep talking about it. Because black people in America, the majority of us whose descendants were slaves, or even if they weren't slaves, we still have been affected by Jim Crow. We were still affected by redlining. We were still affected by discrimination. It gets in your DNA. I'm telling you, unless you have walked the black experience, you do not know how it feels to always have to keep your head on a swivel. To always be guarded. And don't no white woman get on here and saying, well, we white women, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. You were just as complicit. And I will not keep my foot off you white women's neck until you get educated and become an ally. Because it's going to be up to you white women to make a difference in this next dispensation. Because your white men, they've proven they can't do it. And we black people, we sitting back. This is not our battle. It's on you, white women. Christianity during slavery. Enslavers stripped Africans of language, culture, names, and spiritual systems. Let's stop right there. You want to dehumanize someone? You want to break them down so much till you can control when they eat, drink, sleep, piss, shit, and some more? And procreate? Take their language, take their name, take their culture. You've taken their identity. That is what white Christianity did in America. To this day, Sunday mornings are the most segregated times in the week. Isn't it funny, y'all, how many black people, we will flock to these white churches that have white pastors, and we'll sit up under that white pastor and all that, sitting up on that praise and worship guitar playing non-gospel, non-relatable music. But how many white folk will sit up under a black pastor? I'll wait. Huh? How many? But we'll sit up under theirs. Why? Because we have been indoctrinated. We keep being taught that white is better, that they may know something we don't know. If that white pastor is not in that pulpit denouncing and coming against the spirit of racism and prejudice and bigotry, you need to get away from that church. Because I'm telling you now, the hammer of judgment is coming down. I am tired and sick of these white pastors too chicken shit scared to teach a true gospel. You know why they're scared? Because they themselves still have hidden racism and discrimination in their hearts. And it makes them feel good to have a few darkies sitting out there. Oh, we have a multicultural church. We got a few Latinos, we've got a few blacks, we got some Africans, and we got some, come on. Some of these white churches are a modern day plantation. The only part now, y'all Negroes are paying your money to be there. Sit with that. Now, if the white pastor, because they aren't all bad, if they have got up in that pulpit and they have come against and spoken against that, honey, then you, hey, stay planted and grow. But I'm telling you, black folk, wake up. This is our wake up. The ancestors even trying to wake you up. The Bible was weaponized. Its selective scriptures were used on slavery to enforce submission. For example, slaves, obey your masters. Enslaved people were not allowed to read the full Bible. First of all, they weren't even allowed to read. But what the slave master would do is if he saw one, he was like, you know what? As time went on, they would let a man, read a little bit or tell him, wouldn't even let him read, tell him, or they remembered what the master told him. And so the uneducated, unlearned preacher back then would preach. And that's how we have so many jackleg preachers today who have not many, because many are getting the education. They are going to seminary. But even those seminaries that some of y'all are going to, Liberty University, are racist, in my opinion, allegedly. But I think it is. And y'all sitting there sending your kids because it's Christian. Give me a break. Like, wake up, black folk. White ice ain't always colder. White rice ain't always better. And white milk ain't always good for your stomach. Lastly, because this is part one, Christianity became a tool for obedience, not liberation. We're going to dissect that in part two. But think about it. If you can control a person and make them feel fearful and make them think that, look, this is your lot in life to serve us and you'll get yours in the by and by in glory, but you have to serve us now. That's what they've done. That's what they did. And unfortunately, many of you all are still asleep. Many of you all are still living in that indoctrinated type of thought. And it is control, and it is not of God. True God. Not this mythological controlling being that a lot of white Christianity is trying to bestow upon us. Part one. Part two's coming next. Talk to you soon.